Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable IEEE GRSS Dr. Arifin Nugroho DEA, the Honorable IEEE Indonesia ComSoc Dr. Bambang Setia Nugroho, the Honorable IEEE Indonesian Section Dr. Ing Wahyudi Hasbi SSI MCom, the Honorable General Chair ComNetSat 2022, Rector ITTP Dr. Arfianto Fahmi ST MT, and distinguished keynote speakers Carla Refli MSc PhD from University of Bologna, Dr. Vasilis Friderikos from King's College London, Dr. Nolang Fanani being MSc from Hyundai Mobis R&D Center Europe Frankfurt, Germany, the Honorable all the organizing committee and board leader from ITTP, all the presenters and participants of today's conference. On behalf of the committee, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the participants. Welcome to the 11th International Conference on Communication Network and Satellite, ComNetSat 2022, Day 2.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as the second day of this conference, we have already very outstanding keynote speaker. He is Dr. Nolang Fanani, being MSc from Hyundai Mobis R&D Center Europe, Frankfurt, Germany. Before we begin our keynote speaker sessions, I would like to invite you some information again. First, turn on the camera and mute the audio during the keynote speaker session. And then, if you have any questions, please keep it on till your speaker finishes to present. And last, you can directly propose your questions to the speakers by opening the microphone or write your questions on the chat room by telling your name first.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for the first session we have Dr. Nolang Fanani being MSc from Hyundai Mobis R&D Center Europe, Frankfurt, Germany. Before starting his presentation, let me read the brief biography of Dr. Nolang Fanani being MSc. Okay, Nolang Fanani is currently a Deputy Manager at Camera Technology from Autonomous Driving Hyundai Mobis R&D Center Europe, Germany. He received PhD in Computer Science from Goethe University Frankfurt, Germany in 2018 and an MSc in Computer Vision and Robotics from the Erasmus program at the University de Bourgogne, France, Universitas de Girona, Spain, Heriot-Watt University, United Kingdom, Technische Universität München, Germany. He also received some scholarship from DAAD Research PhD scholarship from 2014 until 2018. And Erasmus Mundus Master Scholarship from 2011 until 2013. In 2018, he has awarded a Best Paper Award, second prize at IEEE Intelligent Vehicle 2018. Okay. Good morning, Dr. Nolang Fanani. Have you joined in this room? Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Nolang Fanani being MSc from Hyundai Mobis R&D Center Europe, Frankfurt, Germany, with the topic Artificial Intelligence for Autonomous Vehicle.
Very good morning to everyone. My name is Nolang Fanani. Thanks a lot for the short introduction about me. So the warm regards from me here in Frankfurt, Germany. Still at 2 a.m. Now, very early in the morning, but I'm fully charged. I'm full energy. It's my honor to be here in this conference to give the keynote speech about artificial intelligence in autonomous vehicle. All right, I'm going to share my screen. I hope that you can see my presentation well. Yeah, so in this occasion, I'll be sharing about artificial intelligence for autonomous vehicles. That has been my my research since my PhD time. So during my PhD, I started looking into artificial intelligence for autonomous vehicles, especially looking into what we can do to improve the safety, the accuracy of the autonomous vehicles using camera. But before we talk about the technology, first we always start with why, right? First we start with the motivation, with the background, and for me the whole thing of this effort of inventing the artificial intelligence for autonomous vehicles is always to solve the big problem in transportation. So if we look around, if we look back, the problems in transportation is really huge. First is the high level of accidents. So there is a research that in average every 50,000 kilometer of travel there will be an accident, and most often it's about human factor. So there was some research saying that well, the probable causes are a lot. For example, like from human or from the road condition, from the traffic conditions. But the highest cause of error is human error. And also another big problem, especially in the big cities, is of course the traffic jam. For example, even in some big cities, it's pretty normal now that people will spend 1 or even 2 hours per day only to travel, only for the commute between home and the office. And if we look into like the number of hours, for example, in a year that people spend just on the road, just to reach office, just to reach home safely, is really huge. And the sad thing is that it becomes normal, and I don't think that this should be normal, because this is like really a lot of time that we can better spend on some other more useful activities. And also, for example, the access for disabled, of course, that's another problem. So I have here other statistics. So there are more than 3,000 deaths per day in the world. So that means if we do an average every 2 minutes, there is someone died in the because of road accidents. So for example, during my talk here, if we have like a session of 30 minutes here, then somewhere else in the world 15 people died because of road accidents. And this is not included those who are having accidents, and because of the accident then they are disabled or they are injured. And this is not included the financial loss because of the accidents and so on. So the problem in transportation is really huge, and of course because of these problems, people try to solve, or people try to contribute to this problem by doing something what they can. I believe that the government, for example, continues to provide a better and better infrastructure of the street, for example. and better education about how to drive safely in the road. And and as someone from technology side, so the question is always like, how can technology help solving the problems? So I believe that this is the motivation, the background of the effort of all the research, for example, about the autonomous vehicle. And those motivation already started quite long ago, and then it started what we call in industry as advanced driver assistance system, or we usually call it in short ADAS. So ADAS system. So this is a system which help the driver to drive safely with more accuracy. So for example, some of the examples of the application, for example, is like hazard recognition, for example. So this is to give some warning that, okay, there might be some danger in 5 seconds, for example, because of some objects lying on the road, or there is also lane departure warning. For example, this is I believe one of the highest cause of accident, that vehicle leaves the lane unintentionally. So how technology can help in giving warning to the driver that the vehicle leaves its lane. And also there is like adaptive cruise control, blind spot detection, for example, because we as human, we cannot see 360, so there is always some blind spot, that with technology we can help in monitoring that blind spot, parking assistance and fatigue warning, and so on. So the effort to help driver so that the driver can drive more safely with the advanced driver and assistance system, the technology of this ADAS system continues to grow to the point that people start talking about the autonomous vehicles. And when we talk about autonomous vehicles, we always talk about levels. And so we have a standard, so we define in industry and also now in for example in the law, I believe as well. So it's defined from level 0 until level 5. So this is the level of the autonomy of autonomous vehicles. So level 0 is when it's purely manual, and level 5 is when it's purely autonomous. So and in between, it's like gradual change between from fully manual to fully autonomous. And the question usually is like where we are now. Do we already have level 5 autonomous vehicles, for example, and so on. So in short, the most advanced technology that we have now is on the mid level. So we are most of the technology are on level 2 and level 3. We have been trying to reach level 5, of course, but it's not as easy as many people thought. So the big change between level 3, for example, to level 4 is that the responsibility, the main responsibility will shift from the driver, from the human driver to the car when we switch from level 3 to level 4. And this is really like huge change because that means, for example, from the law point of view, then the responsibility will no longer be on the driver, but it will be on the car. And because of that, then the technology has to be really ready and unfortunately, we haven't reached to that level yet. So whatever technology that we can find now in the market will still require a driver to be responsible for whatever action it done. All right, and in general, the autonomous vehicles itself, it has 3 steps. First is, of course, the sense part. So how autonomous vehicle get information from the surrounding, and then after that, perceive step, which how the autonomous vehicles will process the data, the raw data from sensors, and then try to get as many useful information as possible. And then the last part is act, like how to act, and then to give the direction to the vehicle how to act. For example, like from the sense part, using camera, it will capture some pictures of the surrounding, and then inside the perceive step, it will then classify all objects. For example, oh, there is a car here on the left, there is a motorcycle on the right, and so on. And then act is like when it gives direction to the vehicle, like, okay, so that means we have to go straight with a velocity of 50 km per hour, for example. So, and within all of these 3, then the question is how to apply artificial intelligence. And when we want to apply artificial intelligence, there are so many application. For example, like we can, so inside autonomous vehicles, we can use natural language understanding, for example, to give some input from the from driver to the vehicle. So using voice speech recognition, and then voice noise cancellation might also be very useful, for example. And then location services, sensor processing, fusion, face detection, for example, fingerprint recognition for to make sure that only legitimate driver can access the car. And things that I will focus more is about object classification and scene understanding. So this is where the AI, artificial intelligence, using camera usually play a very important role. But before we apply AI, as I mentioned, the vehicle needs sensors to get some data of the surrounding, and we have a set of sensors. So it's not only about one sensor. For example, if we make an analogy of human driver, so human driver mostly use eyes, right? Mostly only use eyes, probably like also ears to hear what happens around the surrounding, and it's similar to the autonomous vehicles. It uses a combination of sensors. There has to be cameras, of course, and then there is radar, for example, and there might be also LiDAR. So the idea is that by having multiple sensors, we can have a redundancy, and we can cover all of the cases that might arise when we drive. So, for example, using camera most of the time is sufficient. For example, when it's the daylight, when we have a lot of lighting from the sun, then usually using camera it's okay. But we can easily imagine that if we drive, for example, if we drive at night when it's raining very hard and there is not so much light in the surrounding, so it's pretty much dark, and using camera it's very hard to get some useful information from the surrounding. For example, how to detect if there is some pedestrian crossing the road. It will be hard to detect using camera when it's totally dark. But using other sensors, for example, using radar, it can easily detect those kind of difficult scenario of pedestrian crossing the road at night. So that's the idea of having multiple sensors to make sure that we can cover all of the scenarios. And especially using camera, so we can do a lot of things. So for example, here, what I can show is for the lane detection, for example, using camera, we can identify which lane of the street that the vehicle has to move, and it can also automatically detect all of other vehicles. So which one is car, which one is truck, which one is bicycle, and so on, which will be very useful, of course. And then it can also localize the vehicle very accurately. It can also create a map of the surrounding in a centimeter accuracy, because using GPS, for example, will not be enough, because GPS accuracy is in meter, and to be able to drive safely autonomously, we have to have at least centimeter accuracy. And on the application level, these are some of the examples. So there is automatic brake assistant, for example, that will brake automatically if the distance to the to other object is already too close. And then there is a lane keeping assistance, for example. Nowadays, on the most modern car, we can usually just it can automatically follow the lane, so left, right. So the driver doesn't need to really navigate left and right to follow the lane. The system, the ADAS system, can handle and can drive automatically the vehicle. And there's a collision avoidance that's also very useful. And a forward follower is also something very useful as well, so that the vehicle can just follow whatever the vehicle in front do. And then of course there is autonomous parking, so that can park vehicle automatically. And then there is, of course, the autonomous driving, which is still I would say still in a limited scope as for now, because it's not so easy to, for example, autonomous driving that we have now, usually the highest accuracy or the safest mode is in a highway, because in highway there is no traffic light, right? And then in highway there are only cars. Usually there are only cars with similar speed, and within this kind of environment, it's pretty much simpler for the system to navigate the car. But we can easily also imagine, for example, if it is in the middle of city, there are so many pedestrians crossing the road with so many complicated traffic lights and so on. It's still not really robust, in my opinion. And if we talk about safety, of course, then it's always the question or the topic that we cannot separate from the autonomous vehicle, right? So in my opinion, it's still quite a long way towards fully autonomous. So if we get an impression that, oh, it's already solved, for example, that, oh, we already have it, it's not really. There are still so many corner cases that we have to solve, and these corner cases might be really hard. So to be able to have a fully autonomous, which should be safe in every condition, in every situation. Yeah, we still have to do quite a lot in terms of the R&D to improve the technology and so on. And where we are now in the mid-level autonomy. So as I mentioned, we are in level 2, 3 now. And because of this, it's tricky because there's a gray area of responsibility here. And usually looking into some accidents involving autonomous vehicles, I believe that there is some slow reaction by the driver because of the confusion or because of some over expectation from the driver to the system. So we can imagine, for example, like the driver expects or the driver thinks that the vehicle can react accurately and safely given some dangerous situation, for example, and because of this slow reaction, and it turns out that the system cannot handle this dangerous situation, and in the end, accident happens. So this gray level of responsibility is not a situation that we want to have actually. So by law, when it's still autonomous vehicle level 1 to 3, that means the responsibility is still on the driver. It should be clear, and the driver should react without any delay. So that's very clear. And because of this gray area of responsibility, sometimes there are some misuse cases. For example, in YouTube, I saw some cases that the driver sleeps, for example, instead of being ready to take over the car. So yeah, so this is a problem that we have now with the mid-level of autonomy. And if we look into the accidents involving autonomous vehicles, there are some unnecessary serious accidents, which is very unfortunate. So I think lately there is also one, and this is, as I mentioned, really unfortunate. But in general, from the statistic so far, the accident rate of the autonomous vehicles is already lower than what the statistic of the accident rate of a normal driver. And it can only be better, in my opinion, because of the improved technology of the autonomous vehicles, and of course the safety standard and policy is also being discussed now. So together between, for example, the government with the transportation authority, with the automotive industry, so they are discussing this. They sit together. They will formulate policy and also law that will ensure that we have safe environment for autonomous vehicles when it's ready. Okay, when we talk about safety of autonomous vehicle, we cannot really separate this with a bigger system. So I want to also emphasize on the smart transportation, so that we have safe, efficient, and convenient transportation system. And to have this, we need smart synergy. So what I have been discussing so far is about smart vehicles, mostly about using AI, we make a vehicle more secure, safer, and also more accurate. And beyond vehicle, we have, for example, road. And instead of normal road, the road can be designed to be smarter in a way that, for example, every road should have, a tag of what is the limit of the speed for each road, and what are the road signs in this specific road and everything. So that means road has many information which are useful for the driver to be able to drive safely. And beyond the road, we can look into, of course, to the traffic. So this is where the communication happens between vehicles, between road, and for example, with smart traffic, for example, the traffic light, for example, can give some signals to the vehicles to give, for example, to give some warning, for example, if there is some accidents happens, or if it can give, for example, so in traffic light, so there is like green light, there is a red light, and if there is some communication between vehicles and the traffic light, so for example, the traffic light can give the time information to the vehicle. For example, like in 5 seconds the traffic light will turn from red to green, for example. Then the vehicle will know that in 5 seconds it can start going. And this is one of the examples that how the synchronization between the different entities of traffic can really help in having a better transportation system. And of course, beyond traffic, we can look into on the city level. So if we have a smart city which can really connect and give information to all of the parts of this transportation system, then everything will be well synchronized. And to implement this, of course, we have to build the technology. So I think this is very much related to IoT, to the wireless communication, how it's connected, and how the relevant information is shared to everyone and to every vehicles, so that in the end, the manual driving or the manual way of what we are doing now is only limited to what we can see, right? So that's how we commute now. So we are limited to what we can see, and with the smart synergy of smart vehicles, smart roads, smart traffic, smart city, we can get information beyond what we can see. So we can straightly know what happens in 1 kilometer. We can straightly know, for example, we might be able to also get information of what the car in front of us sees. So we can imagine that we can see what the vehicle in front of us sees, and this will give us extra time, for example, to navigate, to brake if there is some dangerous situation, for example. So this is, I believe, the direction that we will go in terms of realizing the transportation system. All right, with that, I will summarize my talk. So artificial intelligence has empowered machines to handle complex and complicated tasks. I guess this is in every aspect of life, I believe. And autonomous vehicles are currently being developed to ease transportation, to create a safer way of commute, to have a more convenient way to travel, and especially cameras are used as the sensors or as the eyes of the vehicles, and the smooth synergy of the vehicle, of road and traffic and city is definitely needed to build a smart transportation solution. And supported by the huge data and powerful computing power, I'm really sure that artificial intelligence will continue to grow, and it will spread an impact, and really impactful benefit for everyone. Yep, thank you, and I will be happy to take questions.
Okay, that is the presentation from
Dr. Nolang Fanani being MSc. Okay, now we are in Q&A sessions. You can directly propose your questions to the speakers by opening the microphone or raise hand first, or you write your questions on the chat room by telling your name first. Okay.
Okay, I
Doctor,
think we have the first question from the chat room.
Okay. In the chat room, we have one questions, Doctor. Okay.
From Arya Handrawan.
Good morning, Doctor. Nolang Fanani, nice to meet you. My name Arya Hendrawan from Diponegoro University and Universitas Semarang. First of all, I would like to thank you for your presentation on artificial intelligence for autonomous vehicles. My question is regarding the implementation of the camera sensor for participation in handling object detection and object tracking that is currently being carried out by Hyundai R&D, and to what extent?
Yeah.
And to collaborate with Dr. Nolang. Okay. Which email can I contact? Thank you.
Okay, please answer, Dr. Nolang.
All right, thanks for the question, Mr. Arya Hendrawan. Yeah, so in Hyundai R&D, so I'm in the camera department, and of course the object detections and object tracking is one of the many things that we are doing here, and the question is like, to what extent? There are a lot of subsystems involving cameras. So, for example, we have so the camera itself, it has different setup. So there is, for example, there is a camera looking forward, there is a camera looking backwards, there is a camera looking sideways. So we make sure that we can cover all of the views, like 360 views, and the objects that we want to track or to detect, it's, I would say, like almost everything that we can see in the road. For example, like the other vehicles, for example, of course, that's really necessary. So to be able to detect other cars, to be able to detect pedestrians, to be able to detect bicycles and so on. But not only that, we should be able to also detect objects that can usually be in the street. For example, like where is the traffic light, and what is the lamp? So what is it like now? The light is red or green or yellow, for example, and then where is the traffic sign, and what kind of traffic sign it shows, for example. And then but not only that, we also look into some strange things. So to be able to detect some weird objects that can be dangerous for the vehicles. For example, like is there any stone in front of the vehicles, for example? That's also something that we are researching, because if we talk about safety, if we talk about accuracy of the autonomous vehicles, then we have to be able to predict and to be able to cover almost all scenarios that can happen. Okay, I hope that it answers your question. And second question is about the email address. You can easily find me on LinkedIn, and we can connect through that. And we can, if there is some collaboration that we can do together, then of course I will be happy to do it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the answer, Dr. Nolang Fanani. And then the second question. Okay, we have the second question. Okay, from Fahyu Pamungkas, IT Telkom Purwokerto. Thank you, Mr. Nolang Fanani, for the very clear and valuable presentation for us. As you indicated, the numerous car models that were recently launched in Indonesia were also equipped
with the ADAS feature. Is there any international standards or regulation regarding ADAS features, and do they have to be the same across all automobile manufacturers? Okay, please, Mr. You can answer.
Yes, thank you, Pak Wahyu Pamungkas, for the question. Yeah, I think this is a very interesting question. It's about the standard, right? The regulation, international standard of autonomous vehicles or for ADAS feature. Yes, there is an international standard. So, for example, this autonomy level of autonomous vehicle, for example, is also this standard which is international. And beyond that, there is a dedicated organization which is independent of the autonomous industry, which does this standardization. So, for example, if there is a new car going into the market, then this independent organizations, we call it NCAP. And so this NCAP company will look into this new vehicle and then do a lot of tests. So they have like standard tests, and for example, can the vehicle stops automatically if there is some pedestrian crossing, or so they try to test the vehicle in many test possibilities. So for example, to know how accurate or how safe the vehicle, and then like how accurate is the ADAS feature. And after doing this test, then there will be some rating. There will be some rating of how good they are on many levels. So for example, like if there is a new car, and then if it doesn't have NCAP ratings, then NCAP will do the test, and then after that give ratings. For example, like what is the rating for the pedestrian detection? What is the rating for the automatic brake system? What is the rating for example, the many other features that they have? So there are many tests, and I believe that NCAP is not alone. I believe that there are also many other, for example, from the government point of view, I believe that they try to also do some standardization to make sure that the vehicle is safe. In practical, of course, if we use vehicle in one country and with another country, it's often that the performance is not the same. I mean, I think that's an important fact that the user need to know. For example, the object detection. So the object detection from the technological point of view, it is trained. So it is trained with some data, and the data now, as it is now, the data usually mostly coming from some specific countries. So for example, if in Indonesia there is some sophisticated vehicle, for example, like vehicle with three wheels, for example, and which doesn't exist in other countries, then the performance of the object detection for that specific sophisticated vehicle might not be really good. So the system can be confused, like, oh, what kind of vehicle is this? This is not in my data set. This is not in my database. So this kind of thing could happen. So I think that's also important to know for users. So the accuracy level might be different between countries, even though they use the same technology. Yeah, because of the different condition in each countries, different condition of the roads. The road looks different, and for technology, the performance might also be then different. So yeah, I hope it answered the question.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nolang Fanani. And then the last question from the audience. The question is from Ibu Tenia Wahyuningrum. Okay.
Okay. On an even deeper level, it may be worth considering whether or not it is safe to trust human lives in the hearts of AI at all. For example, it opens up the door to a potential hacking incidents that could be fatal. Hackers have already figured out how to remotely hack and take control of vehicles, even those that aren't self-driving. What is your opinion?
Yes, thank you so much for the question, Butenia. Yeah, I think this is very relevant. The question is very good, and for every technology product, the digital product, I think the risk or the harm of hackers will always be there. So no matter what kind of product it is, right? And autonomous vehicle is of course not an exception. So it's true that when everything is digital, when everything based on technology, then there is a risk that someone can hack and then can get unauthorized access to the vehicle, and especially for autonomous vehicles and AI in general. What I want to emphasize is to know the benefit, and in this example, for example, the question is whether we want to give the decision, the important decision to AI, which can affect human lives, right? I would go back to look back and to understand which parts of AI can do better than human, and which part of things that human can do better. And the idea is to use AI on things that human will do worse. So for example, in autonomous vehicle, I like to give this analogy. So usually when accident happens, or before accident happens, like say 2 seconds, for example, 2 seconds before accidents happen, or 3 seconds before accident happens, usually human naturally will be in panic mode. So usually human will be panicked, and when we are in panic mode, usually we cannot choose the best action. So it's natural that we will most probably we will do some random action because we are panicked, right? And in my opinion, this is something that AI can do better, because technology, AI, they don't have any panic mode, so they always perform at the same level always. So they can think well, because they are computers, right? They don't use any they don't have hearts. I mean, this is only brain. And during this on this specific condition, when we have 2 seconds, And in these 2 seconds for human in panic mode, usually will just go to waste. So we will just do some random decision. And for AI, it can do something else. It can compute, for example, like if for example the AI can compute, okay, if I hit, so if there are for example like several objects that can be hit by a car, then AI can compute, if I hit the object A, I will hit in 10 km per hour, for example. If I hit object B, I will hit in 50 km per hour. So it can compute the speed, it can accurately compute what will be the speed when it hits, and then it can compute, for example, what will be the surviving level. So for example, if there is some small child and there is some horse, for example, some animals, so it can compute what will be the surviving level of this thing. So using those information, I believe that with AI, the system can take some well-informed information, not a panic mode, not a random action, but a well-informed action. So I think this is the part or the scenario that AI can do better and should then be used more and more. So I hope that it answered the question.
Okay. Okay, I think that is the last question, and then the end of this keynote speaker session, we would like to invite the Vice Rector of Academic and Research (ITTP), Dr. Tenia Wahyuningrum, to give the appreciation of today's keynote speaker.
Okay, let's take a picture first. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much to all keynote speakers for today's conference, and
Thank
also
you.
the Vice Rector ITTP, Dr. Tenia Wahyuningrum. Okay, once again, thank you, Dr. Nolang Fanani, for the presentation and Q&A session.
Okay. Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin to the parallel sessions, we would like to invite all the participants to take a picture first. For those of you who did not turn on the camera yet, please turn on your camera first. Well, please be ready, take a picture. Starting now, the committee will take your picture page by page. So please be ready and hold your smile for a while. Okay, ready? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Page 1, okay, page 2, 1, 2. Okay, wait. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's move. Page 3. 1, 2, 3. Next page. Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and all the participants, before we move to the parallel session, which divide into 5 breakout rooms related to the field. Room 1 DSA 2730. Room 3 COM 2226. Room 4 NET 1418. And then room 5 NET 1923. And then for your information, don't forget to join in the day 3, which is keynote speaker by ANRITSU company, and then networking program, awarding ceremony, best paper and best presentation.
Don't forget.
Yes. And then for the last, I'm Halim Kistakarima and Diandra Chika will leave from this Zoom and will be continued by the parallel session. Thank you and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.